Blast me to the mortal realms. It's time for the Mad Merlins review of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer Premium Kit 2 by Hachette Partworks and Games Workshop. Hello everyone and welcome back to another Stormbringer video, and this one is a rather special one. So we're going to take a look at Premium Kit 2. If you are a subscriber and you've gone premium, you will be receiving 4 special kits throughout the collection. This one is our second. Our first one was Krondris, the son of Dracothian, and this one is something for the destruction side of things. So we'll take a look in just a sec. But before we do, don't forget to, of course, like the video if you are enjoying the content, and if you are, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so, as it's the only way you get to keep up to date with all my mad content. Finally, if you'd like to help support the channel, there are of course links in the video description down below, including the Mad Merlins Patreon, where you can support the channel from as little as £3 a month, and there's even a dedicated Partworks tier if you'd like to support me that way. So, also, finally, drop me a comment down below as well in the comment section. Let me know if you've gone premium and which of the 4 kits you're looking forward to the most. Me, I think I'm looking forward to Premium Kit 3, which we get some nice stuff for Caradron Overlords. Kind of wish we had something extra for the Sylvaneth, but we do get Durfu anyway in the main collection, so I think we have something nice and big for them. But yeah, definitely looking forward to Premium Kit 3 and the Caradron Overlords. So, let's take a look then at Premium Kit 2. So it's a nice chunky box, about the same size, I think, as Krondris. So inside we have, big spoiler there, so we have a huge base. I think that is the 150mm base, question mark? I'll have a look in the instructions in a minute. But yeah, there we go. That's our preview. So Premium Issue 2, Uruk Warclans, we get Gordrakk, the Fist of Gork, on his gigantic Maw Crusher there. So yeah, something to boost the rather small Iron Jaws collection that we get with the magazine. So we also get, of course, frames. We'll have a closer look at these in just a sec, but there we have all the different frames that make up Gordrakk and his Maw Crusher. And now we have an empty box. Yay for empty boxes. So, as usual, we'll take a look at the frames, then we'll go through the magazine, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this premium kit. So let's start taking a look at the frames. I'll go in reverse order so I can put them back in the box the way they came out. So first off, we have part of the Maw Crusher. So we have one of its wings, we have parts of its front legs here, the back, the tail, its hind legs, and again more parts of the rear and side. Parts of the head here as well. Oops. If we turn it around, we can see the underside. So not a lot of detail on this side, just have the straps around the wrist holding on his armor. Yeah, really cool. Got a bonus little Stormcast head there as a bit of a trophy. Yeah, really ferocious looking beastie. And on the second frame we have his other wing straight off, and then we have the remaining parts of his torso, the other parts of the wing, his second half of the tail, a few more trophy pieces, some chains to help hold Gordrakk down, Gordrakk's tusks go on his armor, and a few armor panels as well for Gordrakk. There's that side, just so you can see. Lovely detail on the wings, just like on Krondris. Fantastic detail. I love these kits. They are fantastic. Love the big monsters. And finally, we have Gordrakk's frame himself. So we got the two halves of his body. We got his armor plating. We got the trophy rack sort of back banner piece there. We got a secondary option there, which looks like a Ogre Moor Tribe gut plate. We have the options for the generic Mega Boss on Moor Crusher with the giant spear there and the reversed dagger. And then we have Gordrakk's double-headed axes there. And we have the face mask piece for the Moor Crusher. So yeah, really, really cool. Lovely model. Got the neck there, a couple of head options. There was one, I believe, on the other frame with a more closed look to it, with a closed mouth. Yeah, really cool nonetheless. Loads of extra details. We've got the central piece for the banner there, which goes over there, and that'll look really cool, all done and painted. Alright then, let's take a look at the magazine, including the build guide and the paint guide, which I've already looked at, and it's a pretty in-depth one. So here we have our special magazine. So Premium Kit 2 for Orc Warlands. So we get a collect article for Gordrakk, the Fist of Gork. We build and paint him, we have his rules, and we have a special mission where he faces off against a host of Stormcast. So, Gordrakk, the Fist of Gork. Gordrakk is the boss of bosses, and he claims to be the strongest Orc that ever lived. He will not stop until he has united all of his kind into a single realm-annihilating war. I'm strong, I'm clever, and I'm coming for you. So we have the Breaker of Empires. He has done some very brutal things to become the hardest of Orc war bosses. We have his paired axes here. Yeah, he's risen again over the years to become one of the most respected and feared bosses. And he often rules through sheer force of will and, of course, regular acts of brutal violence, befitting an orc. So we have a couple of tables, his reasons for joining your force, and his chosen tactics in battle. Then, of course, we've got the great deeds and even the epic deeds that he might try to do while having a scrap with the Umis. Every scrap makes me stronger and scarier. So, moving on, we got how to build Gordrakk, and yeah, it's going to be a pretty in-depth build guide. We've got lots of components to put together, but they are chunky, which is a benefit. So we start by building one half of the torso, the underside, the front left arm there, building the opposite side of the torso with the right arm, and we unite the two halves together. Construct and glue on the hind legs, so they are fairly small and stunty, but that is, of course, all part of the brutal beast that he is, the Moor Crusher. That's the one. Yeah, then we have the head. So we got the two sides of the Moor, the front of the Moor, and the head crest itself. And that goes on there, and that's your first sub-assembly. So you want to make sure you paint this guy first before you go applying any extra parts of the model. Next up, we want to build the rest of our sub-assemblies. So we have the two wings, which will be kept as a sub-assembly. And then we have the face mask as well, which will be another sub-assembly to be glued on later on. And our final sub-assembly is, of course, Gordrakk himself. Goes together much like you think. Glue the two halves of the torso together. Glue on any extra arm panels that's needed. Glue on his neck. Glue on the arms. Glue his armor panels in place. all the chains that hold him down to his mount, the big tusks, his trophy rack, the rest of the arm plates, these little trophies, the Stormcaster head, his axes, and then finally his head and the final chains at the back there. And then we got our final assembly, so we have clear contact points where his feet will go, and we also have a little area at the front of the Maw Crusher's head where the mask glues on, and we want to keep these areas on the forearms clear for his wings. Yeah, there we have him fully built. Definitely a good idea to leave it in sub-assemblies, otherwise it's going to get real tricky to get into all the detail that we have to paint. Speaking of having to paint it, here's the paint guide. So we want to make sure we mask off areas with sticky tack, so we avoid getting any paint on those areas where glue is going to be needed to go later. Some areas like the arms and the feet contact points are going to be fairly easy to clean with your mold line remover. The inside areas of the arms, a little bit trickier, but could be done if need be. Yeah, just cover over the areas you want to leave bare plastic. So first things first is to base coat the model, and you want to base coat all parts of the Maw Crusher with Gork flesh. Then give it a good shading of Euphonian Camo Shade before we start to do a few glazings with Euphonian Camo Shade. So we want to do about 4 layers of glazing, going from the underside up to the ridge on the back, on the spine there. So each layer we want to do closer and closer to the center, all drawing into the same point, with a final layer going right down the center. We do the same on his wings. So the areas where the scales are the thickest, we want to have the Euphonian Camo Shade the strongest. So yeah. Next up, to really darken them down, we want to do the same thing again, but this time we're using Coelia Green Shade just to give it a nice, rich, dark green. And then finally, our 4th stage of the glaze instead is with Nuln Oil going right down the spine to give it that nice, real darkness center piece where all the glazes unify. Excuse me. Doing the same again for the wings, so Coelia Green Shade going down towards the tips, and then finally a little bit of Nuln Oil. Next up then, we want to start bringing back the colour to the lighter green with a dry brush of Gork flesh. So just on the fleshy parts of the wings, the underside, light dry brushing over the scales just to help pick out the edges. And then moving on to the underside, we're going to start dry brushing with Ogryn Camo there, and again on the tips of the wings. And for a final touch on the wings, we want to use Wraithbone just on the highest ridges of the veins there of the wings. Moving on then, we're going to start base coating the rest of the colours in. So Catachan Flesh for the spikes running down his back, his horns and his hooves. So make sure you get all the spikes on his wings. Any leather straps as well you want to pick out with Catachan Flesh. Then with Wraithbone, we're going to start picking out all his teeth. So he has quite a few in his massive maw. There's also a few patches of bandage, etc. We'll pick those out with Wraithbone as well. Then we're moving on to picking out the metalwork with Lead Belcher. There's lots of parts on the wings, so look for those as well. He also has a ring in his nose, pick that out with Lead Belcher. Then Mephiston Red is used to pick out his eye. Abaddon Black is used to paint certain sections of the armor plates, as we can see here. And then Avalanche Sunset is used to paint the other bits to help tie him into the Orruk Warclans. Next up then we have the shading process. So we want Nuln Oil to shade the spikes and levers and all the metals. Skeleton Horde to shade the teeth and any bandages. Reichman Flesh Shade to shade the yellow. And Agrax Earth Shade to help shading around the eye. Moving on, we start to highlight. So Bale Brown to highlight all the edges of the leather. Dawnstone to highlight the black areas. Stormhost Silver to highlight all the metal. There's a lot, so just take your time picking out all the sharp edges. White Scar used to pick out the teeth and bandages. Wild Rider Red for the very centre of his eye. Night Quest or Flesh for all the horns and teeth. And Wraithbone on the yellow there. Moving on then, we can paint the mask. So we want to give it an all-over base coat of Avalanche Sunset. Might be a good idea if you can to attach it to a paint pot so you don't have to hold it with your hands. Using some blue tack, attach it to a paint pot would be a good idea. They use that in Imperium. I don't know why they haven't done it in these ones. But yeah, it's a good idea if you can. Give it an all-over coat of Avalon Sunset, then paint over the actual mask with Avalon Black, and pick out any metal areas with Lead Belcher, and any tassels with Corn Red. Shading, so Nuln Oil over the Corn Red, White Flesh Shade over the yellow, and then picking out the metal areas with an edge highlight of Stormhost Silver and Dawnstone on the actual black parts. Relayer Avalanche Sunset on the cloth before a highlight of Wraithbone, and a highlight of Squig Orange there on the tassels. Moving on then, we have the paint guide for Gordrakk himself, so we're going to give it an all-over coat of Orc Flesh, picking out the trousers with Abaddon Black, leather straps with Cataclysm Flesh, as well as the big horns on his trophy rack there. Pick out the inside of his mouth with Corn Red. Any straps, bones and teeth will be picked out with Wraithbone there. Lead Belcher for all the metallics, so the heads of the axe there, and the chains coming off his belt, and any bits of chainmail as well. Then Avalanche Sunset is used to pick out the majority of his armour, not all of it, as some bits will be done black. There's leather straps and also the wood on the axes to pick out with Cataclysm Flesh. Then we go back to the Abaddon Black, as I mentioned, for some of the other panels and details on the model. Next up, Corax White for the beard sort of motif he's got here on his necklace. Retributor Armour for the Stormcast mask there, or the colour you paint your own Stormcast if you have a different colour scheme. Wraithbone for any skulls. Cataclysm Flesh for the tusks where the chains are dug into. And then finally Mephiston Red for the eyes. Then we can start shading. So we want to shade the black, brown areas and metal areas with Nuln Oil, as well as the beard hanging off his little necklace there. Aphonian Camo Shade is used to shade his flesh, so that's a good hint at what we're going to be doing later on for all our Oryx. Ryken Flesh Shade will shade his yellow armour, and Skeleton Horde on any of the bone details. Ogren Camo used to highlight the sharpest points of his facial features. Bale Brown for your leather details. Dawnstone for any blacks, so your trousers and your armour. Stormhost Silver for all your gold and silver details. White Scar to pick out all the bone details and the beard detail there. Night Quest or Flesh to help pick out the wood effects on his trophy rack and his axes. Finally, Wraithbone is used to highlight the yellow armour, and a dot of Wild Rider Red at the centre of his eyes just to help pick them out. And then you have your final assembly, so remove your blue tack, just double check you have got a nice clean contact area, apply your glue and slowly put them together. I would suggest making sure you leave each arm to dry fully before you attempt to attach the next, and leave attaching Gordrakk himself until last, and then you can glue him down to the base. And for the base itself, so once we have him all glued down, we want to paint the entire base with Cataclysm Flesh before applying a Grelin Earth all over. Once that's dried and cracked, we can wash over with Agrax Earthshade. A dry brush of Wraithbone will help pick out the details on the crack paint, and then a paint of the base rim with Cataclysm Flesh. And yeah, it looks really good. Top tip, if you want to get bigger, better cracks, after you've done the Cataclysm Flesh and let it dry, give the base a layer of Ardcoat gloss varnish or any other gloss varnish. Let that fully dry before you apply your ground earth, and then you want to apply a gentle heat, so a little bit low heat on a hairdryer will be ideal. That will help the cracks crack a lot larger. I luckily have an old-fashioned Arga Rayburn type thing down in the studio where I film. That's on at this time of year, and it will help get the cracks cracking quite large. Another top tip you could use is if it's a nice sunny hot day, leave it in the sun somewhere. I've done that before when I've had no other choice, and it's worked out quite nicely for my grey knights. But when you're finished, you should have something that looks very much like that. Very ferocious and very imposing. Pretty cool, nice model to add to the smallest sided faction on the Gork side. So yeah, it's nice that we get these premium kits to help boost the side of some of the smaller factions within the collection. We're getting, of course, the Kharadron Overlords in the next pack, which I'm looking forward to. Can't wait to get those and paint them up. It's going to be nice if we get one of the I think it's the small or medium gunship, and we also get the dirigible suits plus a dirigible character as well, which will be pretty cool. So finally then we have the rules for him. So he has a massive 20 wounds. His move is dependent on his remaining wounds. So basic move 12, then goes down at 2 inches for every so many wounds he takes. So 7 to 12 wounds down to 10, 13 to 16 wounds he's down to 8, 17 wounds plus he's 6-inch move. So his attacks for the mighty fists and tail are also dependent on his remaining wounds, and as is the ability for destructive bulk. So yeah, we've got all these rules here. So he's a war master. If this unit is included in your Gork Warclan's army, it is treated as a general, even if it is not the general you've picked for the army. Cool. So we've got a mount there. We've got the destructive bulk ruling there. He's got the smasher. We've got cunning. So these are his 2 weapons. And we have voice of Gork and strength from victory as well there. Plus all his rules and keywords at the bottom there. So he's destruction, Uruk Warclans, Uruk, Maw Crusher, Iron Jaws, Hero, Monster, Totem, Mega Boss, and Gordrakk. Save 4+, and he has the best bravery I've ever seen on an orc at bravery 8. So yeah, we got tutorials there for destructive bulk and strength from victory. And finally then we have a special mission where the Stormcast of the Knight Arcanum, Lord Imperatant, Lord Aquila, Guard of Steel Soul, Stormstrike Chariot, 5 Vindictors, 4 Praetors and Zandire's Truth Seekers face off against Gordrakk in a brutal battle royale. So Gordrakk deploys one side, the Stormcast deploy the other side. We have plenty of scenery scattered about. And then we deploy. So inspiration for annihilation. In this battle, Gordrakk can use the "Come on, you lot, get stuck in" action, but only on the destruction player's turn. So come on, you lot, get stuck in. Pick a destruction unit from your collection and add it to your army. You must deploy it anywhere within 9 inches of the battlefield edge and more than 9 inches from enemy units. This unit may not move in the movement phase, but may shoot and charge as normal. So that's cool. You get to pick and choose which units you get to add to your collection, to your army, to make it a little harder for those Stormcast to take him down. So it lasts for 5 battle rounds, and the victory conditions is if Gordrakk is slain, Order wins. If all of the Order player's units are wiped out, the destruction player wins. Any other result is a draw. So yeah, there we go. You'll need the full core rules for this, and we have most of them by now, so we should be okay for this. So yeah, there we have it. Right, I'll bring it all in and I'll give you my final thoughts on this pretty cool premium kit. So there we have it. That was Premium Kit 2, and yeah, it's a brutal looking kit. The Maw Crusher has been one of the biggest Age of Sigmar model kits released. That was until, of course, Dracothian Crondis model. But yeah, it still holds up as one of the biggest models in the Age of Sigmar range as a whole. I did forget to check what is the size of the base. And it is 160 mil, so I weren't too far off of 150 mil. But yeah, fantastic kit. Kind of sad I'm not going to get to build and paint him. I love building and painting giant monster characters that stand out in the middle of an army. But yeah, fantastic kit nonetheless. If you are a premium subscriber and you're getting this for the Destruction Force, it's going to be a game changer for your collection. It's nice that it comes with a pretty cool, unique, special mission to play him in. You could use it when we get around to building our own armies, perhaps. I'm not too sure how that's going to work. We'll find out once we get past the tutorial stage, which is usually around the 40 issue mark. So not too far away now, I don't think. So we'll get a chance to start picking and choosing our own armies, which will be quite nice. Whether we will get the chance to bring this guy into a normal game, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, as I said. Fantastic kit. So if you have gone premium, it's £2 extra in issue. So this boils down to 40-ish pounds, I think. Because it's every 20-ish issues we get a premium kit. So roughly £40 gets you this guy. He's, I think it's 90. If not, it's definitely more than 75. I know Crondis is 90, but he is ever so slightly bigger. So yeah, this guy is pretty expensive nonetheless. So getting it for the £40 premium price is a bargain. Fantastic. And he is an awesome character. You have got the option, if you want to use the different head, the different weapons to build a regular war boss on Maw Crusher. So yeah, pretty cool. If you haven't got this guy, it's a good deal. If you have got this guy already, you've got the option there to build a generic version rather than the specific character version. The paint guide is fantastic, nice and in depth. I'm loving the premium kits they've done. I've just finally finished painting the Ogre Tyrant, and yeah, that was brilliant paint guide. Other than a few chunky lines, I think I've done a pretty good job of following it and painting him. I even used the blood technique that they did for his fist on top of the halberd, so he's got a bit of blood where he's chopped the guy's head off. So extra detail. I like that. That's pretty cool. So that's pretty much it. As I said, great kit, solid model, well worth the investment if you've gone premium. If you haven't gone premium, you're too late. You have to start, I believe, from issue 4 onwards in order to benefit from the premium kits. But I'm sure there will be these available for around 40 to 45 on sale sites for people who've gone premium and don't want this particular model. They're bound to be selling it. So check the Stormbringer Facebook pages. I'm sure someone will have one available for you. But yeah, there we have it. I'm going to leave it there. Another fantastic premium kit. Kind of annoyed they're not showing the premium kits that come next on the back page. I know that probably saves on printing costs a bit, but I like that they did it with the Imperium ones. They had the coming next. I only ever picked up the first premium kit because I didn't really fancy any of the others. But I did like the fact that on the back of the Chaos Space Marine one, it showed Tyranids are coming soon, and it shows what you get and what the paint guide will be, and it was the Hive Fleet Kraken, one of my favourite Hive Fleets, and I kind of wish I picked it up now. I might be lucky to find it cheap somewhere, but it does have old models in it, sadly, so it's not the best. I'd probably rather pick up, if I can find the magazine alone, I'll pick the magazine up and then pick up the newer versions of the models to replace them and paint them up that way. But yeah, there we have it. So let me know what you thought of Gordrakk, the Fist of Gork, in the comment section down below. Have you got this guy yourself? And if so, how are you building and painting him? Let me know in that comment section down at the bottom there, and we'll have a good friendly discussion about this hobby. So thank you again all for watching, and I will see you next time for more Stormbringer content. Thank you and goodbye.